Hello friends. We continue the topic of infrared signal transmission. Today, let's talk about the NEC format. It's actually one of the most common ones. It's also used in a number of apps you can install on your Android smartphone, as some of these devices come with an infrared port. You can even go to the Play Market and download some infrared remote apps for your TV or other equipment. And as usual, before we begin, I'd like to ask you to support my work by giving a like and clicking the subscribe button. Thanks in advance. Friends, let's start with our own version of how the infrared signal is transmitted from a remote control. Through the infrared sensor, it sends out different pulses. Basically, when the light appears, the signal is on, and when the light disappears, the signal is off. So, people who record an infrared remote in specific lighting conditions will see these kinds of flashes. You might ask, how is this transmitted in code? In fact, in the same way, through signals that are either present or not. It's a certain pulse code that indicates where the signal is on and where it's off. Now let's take a look at what this looks like in the NEC format. It sends a specific array of signals. But for simplicity, we'll call it a packet. The graph shows this in milliseconds. But in code, it's specified in microseconds. For example, 9 milliseconds equals 9,000 microseconds. The standard NEC packet starts with a 9 millisecond pulse that is sent right at the beginning. Right after that comes a 4, 5 millisecond pause. Some might ask how the system automatically understands where the signal is present or not. We'll get to that later. Now let's move on and look at this large array. What is it? It's the address signal plus the command signals. Let's break it down. The address is essentially the name of your device, and the command is the function of a specific button. For example, the address might be your TV model, and it stays constant. The command changes depending on which button is pressed. What makes up the address and command? They consist of a certain array of different pulses. Let's consider the 32-bit NEC protocol and how the bits are formed. It might not be immediately clear how the signal array is formed in the address and command. Each bit, 0 or 1, is transmitted by 2 time intervals. The first is a 562 microsecond pulse, meaning the LED is turned on. The second is a pause. If the pause lasts 1690 microseconds, that's a logical 1. And if the pause is 562 microseconds, that's a logical 0. You can also see this in the code. The address or command is built from such various and repeated pulse combinations. Since we're looking at the 32-bit version of NEC, some might think the number isn't 32. But something like a 31 and a 0. The reason is that numbering starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, adding up to 32. So, the address plus the command equals 32 bits. If we separate them, it results in 16 bits for the address and 16 bits for the command. Looking closer at the address, it consists of 8 bits of the actual address and 8 bits of its inverse. Inversion is basically the opposite of the bits. For example, if the address was 01, the inverse will be 10. The inversion helps avoid accidental triggering from noise or other IR sources. Essentially, it's a form of verification to improve reliability. When the remote sends a signal, the address is compared with its inverse. If everything matches and there are no errors, the signal is transmitted correctly. The code is transmitted in raw format through the phone's infrared transmitter. Here's what it looks like. It actually consists of 67 elements, meaning pulses and pauses. Here's the idea. First comes an initial 9 millisecond pulse. Then a 4, 5 millisecond pause. Then comes the address with its inversion. It consists of 32 elements of pulses and pauses. After that comes the command. It also consists of 32 elements of pulses and pauses. As we remember, the pulses are 562 microseconds. And the pauses are either 562 or 1687 microseconds. At the very end, there's a final 562 microsecond pulse. Basically, each pulse and pause is a separate element. What about bits? How do we have 16 bits in the address, but 32 elements? Let me show you how it works. If we sort these elements by bits, you'll get a picture from the raw code. Each bit consists of 2 elements. So, we have 2 representations, bit level and element level. Bit level refers to logical zeros and ones. And element level refers to the sequence of pulses and pauses. I hope you now have a better understanding of the 32-bit NEC protocol. If you enjoy this kind of useful content and haven't joined us yet, don't forget to subscribe. Wishing you all a great day. See you next time. Bye.